an investigative perspective, are they going to find anything?
In regards to the cocaine in the White House, so that was mostly investigated, obviously, by the Secret Service. They would have jurisdiction over that. My guess is they will not find much from an FBI perspective. I think they're going to find more bringing the FBI in regards to the Dobbs case, as well as the pipe bombs that ultimately and thankfully didn't go off, because the FBI really wasn't brought in to investigate those two, and they have different resources that probably could have been helpful.
I'll get to the other two cases in a second. Tracy, why don't you think that they're going to find anything on the White House case? I mean, there's cameras all over the place. That was one of the big questions at the time.
I think the reality is the FBI can only do so much, right, in terms of investigating cases. And there's only so many agents and so many things that they're ultimately assigned to. And so I think in the case of the cocaine, in terms of public interest, public safety, as well as public corruption, quite frankly, it's not at the top of the list in terms of things that they are going to investigate. Now, there are cameras. You're absolutely right. And so that would be easy to identify someone. But if the case has already essentially been closed by the Secret Service, I don't know what else they're going to find.
All right. Here was Congressman Langworthy at the time telling me when I asked him, what do you think's going on here? Watch. You think that the Secret Service is trying to protect the Bidens here?
Well, I think that they certainly answer to the administration, and the administration wants this story to go away. As one of your panelists mentioned, you know, the story has changed as to where the cocaine was found, and the timeline has changed along the way. There's only so many people that have access to these spaces.
Jesse, are you with Tracy here?
Okay, so here's the thing. Let's be very clear about something. These are all very serious, and this isn't a case where we say someone didn't commit a crime. No, there's evidence of a crime. You want to talk about the theft of government property, drug possession, possession of an explosive device, particularly in this kind of area. There's no doubt about that. But what you're seeing is, and what I think you're reading through the lines is, we're going to look into it now because it either was an insufficient investigation, it was not a thorough investigation, was there a cover-up? I mean, that's the difficulty here, because even with the Supreme Court leak, you're talking about an 8-month investigation. There were no fingerprints. There was no DNA that was properly extracted. With the leak, no, the 8-month, that was, excuse me, the cocaine was 11 days, and then Supreme Court was an 8-month investigation. People deserve answers. It just becomes a question of what usually you talk about announcing a new investigation when there's some new evidence, someone has come forward. FBI doesn't have to announce that they're going to be reopening it. So that is why people look at it and say, is this politically motivated? Is it just to look at the other side, or is there really something here?
You think that's because they're getting heat from conservatives as it relates to the Epstein files? And so now there's a let's focus on this stuff?
That becomes a question dedicating resources to this and why it hasn't been released. And are you taking resources away from something that it should be looked at? But look, this is all the idea of full transparency, transparency. Even people who don't like Donald Trump can also say releasing all the JFK files in an effort of transparency, that's a good thing. But because we're stonewalled with Epstein, now it's a question of what else can we look into. It's not the wrong thing, because these are very serious incidents and there was crime committed. But what do we do from it?
Tracy, on the Supreme Court case, which was the Dobbs decision was leaked, Jesse, right, like a few weeks or a month or so before the eventual decision came out. And there was a Supreme Court investigation, or their investigators were put on it. Now, Tracy, when you bring the FBI potentially into this, does that sort of open any new doors, possibly, given what you know of the agency, or no?
My hope is actually yes. I actually feel pretty confident, to be completely honest with you, about that. And, you know, to Jesse's point, this really is about transparency. But I look at all of these three cases that they're discussing in terms of threat and what that means to the American public, right, in terms of importance. And when something like this comes out with, I think, the intention to influence an outcome that someone didn't agree with, that is very, very problematic, right? And I think that's a public corruption issue. And so I think in terms of cyber and cell phone data, I do think that the FBI can really bring in some tools that maybe the Secret Service wasn't able to do at that point in time. You also have to keep in mind the Secret Service was also quite busy, unfortunately, in regards to the assassination attempts against, at that time, former President Trump, but now current President Trump. And so I really do think that this could shed some new light into this case.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.